Welcome, everybody. Think there's still a few folks signing on, so we'll just say hello for a minute here and get people oriented. I'm Lisa Marshall with HeatSmart Tompkins, and I'm excited to welcome you to this webinar focusing on air source heat pumps. If you are new to Zoom, a couple of tips are to stay muted during the presentation. That helps everybody be able to hear better. And you can use the chat function along the bottom. If you scroll along the bottom of your screen, you'll see some options, and one of them is chat. You can ask questions in the chat, and you can say hi in the chat, tell us how you heard about the webinar, something you're interested in doing in your house, maybe what county you live in. So that's a nice way to find out who's joining us tonight. So once again, I'm Lisa Marshall. I'm the HeatSmart co-director, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to our presenter tonight, who is Jonathan Comstock, who has been the director of HeatSmart and was the founder of HeatSmart Tompkins. So Jonathan, take it away.
Thanks, Lisa. So I'm Jonathan Comstock. I am broadcasting from my car parked in front of the Caroline Town office, because I live in too rural of a place to have reliable internet connections there. So bear with the window glare. Anyway, I'm Jonathan Comstock. I'm co-director of the HeatSmart Tompkins program with Lisa Marshall. And tonight I'm going to be talking mostly about air source heat pumps, which can heat your home in the winter and cool it in the summer. I'm not going to walk through all these points about who I am, but I'm sometimes a very serious person and sometimes not so serious. And we also have 4 installers with us tonight. And I've put names for who I thought was representing them, but I think Snug Planet is being represented by Elizabeth Herod, not John, tonight. They'll play a big role at the end of my brief presentation when we get into the Q&A. So HeatSmart began right here in Tompkins County. We were the first HeatSmart community. Now they're all over the state, and this map will need to get updated with half a dozen new ones very soon. So what HeatSmart is meant to do for you is to remove the barriers to the strength of your own individual action. And we try to provide transparency for costs and quality issues, provide accessible information on the options, because there are a lot of different kinds of heat pumps out there, and do everything we can to generate confidence so that you feel you know enough to make what is a big decision to go forward with one of these systems. And this is our outreach committee over here on the right, who are showing you their pause to help you pass the pause. So let's start out just talking about what is a heat pump. Up on the wall of the shelves near the ceiling, you can see an inside heat distributor that's part of an air source heat pump system. We call those high wall units because it's high on the wall. So, but you already have a heat pump in your home, and you probably know what you call it, but if you don't, you call it the refrigerator. And heat pumps run on electricity using refrigeration technology. And you know it works because your refrigerator is able to pump that heat out of the inside compartment into the room around it. So the room gets hotter and the inside of the refrigerator gets colder. That's the basic essence of a refrigeration cycle. Some place gets hotter and some place else gets colder at the same time. So energy is transferred. And they can heat in the winter and cool in the summer. They can pump in either direction, in other words, the energy. And they are super energy efficient. So we talk about them being 200 to 300 percent efficient, depending on the application. And that's a little odd, because how can something be more than 100% efficient? Certainly your furnace can't, a boiler can't, um, an electric resistance, the old classic kind of electric heating, can't be more than 100% efficient, but a heat pump can. And it's possible because the heat pump is capturing free energy for you. It does not just turn consumed electricity into heat, it uses it to move energy from one place, which is the outside air, in the case of an air source heat pump, to another, your home. So this is a graphic showing a ductless mini split. And on the far right outside is the compressor, and it's attached to two inside units. So that makes this a multi-zone ductless mini split system, because one outside unit is connected to multiple zones inside. And I use the word zone deliberately, because every one of those inside heads has independent control over just how hot you want that room. So you've got as many zones as you have inside units with an air source heat pump. And they can function down to the coldest temperatures we expect to see here in Tompkins County. So it can be a primary heating system for your home. And there's also other styles. So I showed you a high wall mount unit. There's also floor mount units that look more like this. And there are others. There's things that can be recessed into the ceiling and other things. But the floor mount and the high wall units are the most common in use. And the choice between them, some of it is technical. The floor mount units, especially on a first floor, are great because the coldest air is there on the floor, and they can spread it better through the room and heat it more effectively. But it's only, those are small differences, and it usually gets driven by aesthetics. So some people, they don't have any open wall space. Everything has got furniture of some kind or another there, and so there's no real good place to put a floor mount. Other people look at the high wall mounts and they say, oh, no, I don't want that up on my wall. That's going to, clash with my artwork up there. So it really, there's a lot of personal taste involved in choosing some of these systems, as well as the important technical parts, which any of the installers who are giving you assessments will be able to guide you on those technical parts. But you have to guide them on what your aesthetics are. So there's also another kind of air source heat pump. The ductless mini split systems I was talking about can be primary heat systems for the whole home, but there's also what we call a dual fuel air source heat pump. And this is a unit that interfaces with an existing furnace. It is an air source heat pump. It's not meant to ever carry the full heating load when it's below 0 outside, or maybe even below 10 or 15. But at the higher temperatures, it does an excellent job. It is very, very energy efficient at those moderate temperatures. And so it can operate even saving you money compared to natural gas, even if you've got it. And if you're comparing it to propane or heating oil as an expensive fuel, they can save you considerable funds. The system has a programmable switchover point. So at some cold temperature, it will be preset to switch over to using the furnace. So you don't get rid of your furnace with this kind of a system. And it can do air conditioning in the summer and heating down to some intermediate temperature with super high efficiency. And the advantages of this, you can save operating costs. They can be very effective that way. You can also reduce your fossil fuel use if it's important to you by 50 to 70% is standard. And sometimes it comes out to be even more. It depends on the different kinds of equipment. An installer has to match up an appropriate air source heat pump that is compatible with a given furnace. So if you already have a furnace, that sort of will set the parameters that determine which models are appropriate for you. But they can figure that out for you and give you what options you have. And HeatSmart strongly recommends full conversion off fossil fuel. That's what we exist for, is to try to help our society become fossil fuel free and base all of our activity on renewable energy. But it's not always practical for everyone. The whole home systems can be rather expensive. And this is a good plan B if full conversion is not possible for you at this time. And you've got a good gas furnace that you just put in not long ago. So there are also air source heat pumps for hot water heating. And you know, the heat pump over there on the right isn't much to look at. It's probably going to be down in your basement, but it's going to provide you with the pleasure of a hot shower and hot water to use throughout the house. I'm not going to say any more about them. They are great, and next week's webinar is all about them. So Lisa will tell you about that next Tuesday. So my topic tonight is air source heat pumps, but I think it's informative to do a comparison between air source and ground source. And I'm just going to assume that most of you have some familiarity with ground source. I think a lot of you have been on our webinars earlier in the past few weeks and gotten maybe multiple talks about them. The concept of the refrigeration cycle is very much the same, except an air source is capturing that free energy from the outside air, and a ground source is capturing it from below ground around your house. So the energy efficiency is one of the things that's different. An air source heat pump has very good energy efficiency, probably about 225%, somewhere in there. Ground source is excellent at about 400%, because the ground source doesn't have to ever pump against very, very cold temperatures. The ground never gets much colder than, say, 40 degrees here, even in the dead of winter. Can they use pre-existing heat distribution systems? And the answer is, for air source, it's yes and no. The ductless mini splits are complete in themselves. They don't need anything else pre-existing, no ducts, no radiators, because you're going to have that outside unit connected to the inside units, and the inside units have a fan where they will pull air out of the room, heat it or cool it as is appropriate to what you've asked it to do, and put it back in the room. And that energy is either being captured outside or released outside in the case of air conditioning. You can, so the ductless mini splits don't use a pre-existing heat distribution system, but you can also get air source heat pumps that can send hot air through your duct system if you've already got a duct system and forced air. So that is an option, and you can explore that. Ground source heat pumps do generally require a distribution system, and they are often good choices for replacing a furnace or even a boiler. We don't have good options for air source heat pumps replacing boilers right now, but the ground source heat pumps can definitely do it. And so do you get air conditioning as well as heating? And with an air source heat pump, you always do that. For a ground source, you will always get it if it's a forced air system, delivery system. But if you've got a baseboard radiator system, you can't chill that. You can't chill those surfaces without causing a lot of condensation and a lot of mold. Now, there are units that can be added to the system with a heat pump. They function much like the inside heads of an air source heat pump in terms of what they look like and their effect. And they can air condition as well as heat, and they are designed so that the condensate is captured and sent away down a drain. And zonal control, I mentioned already, one of the nice things about air source heat pumps is each head is its own zone. Every head will have its own remote control, and you can just change the temperature on individual ones anytime you want to. For ground source, they also can do zoning, but it is an extra feature that you have to choose. Now, the lifespans are different. We say that an air source heat pump is probably going to last 15 years, and a ground source is likely to last 25 years. And when we say 25 years, we're referring mostly to the compressor part that's in the basement, not the loop field. The loop field is going to last for hundreds of years. The reason for the different lifespans is to a large extent the same as the difference for the energy efficiency we started out with. The air source heat pumps have to work very hard when it's very cold, and that puts a strain on them that shortens their lifespan. But it's still good. I have air source heat pumps at my house, and we love them. Weather sensitivity. The air source heat pump outside units are designed to be out in the weather, but they can be impacted by deep snow. If you cover it up with snow, it can't get at the air. So a HeatSmart contractor will always raise those outside units up maybe 20 inches or so. Sometimes very large multi-zone units don't get raised up as high, but they're so large to begin with that the snow is never going to cover them up. And then disturbance to the ground, to your property, is minimal with a ductless mini split. It's pretty extensive with ground source, but that disruption is a one-time event. Even after 25 years, you wouldn't have to repeat that. That loop field is going to last basically until somebody damages it. Somebody digs a big trench and cuts it up or something like that. And they put them 6 feet down, so that's not likely to happen by accident. And the incentives right now are really great. They are as good as they've ever been for both of these kinds of systems. So for air source heat pumps, the incentives, the current financing and incentives that are available to everyone include NYSERDA Green Jobs, Green New York is putting out 0% loans. 0% for the life of the loan, not the first 6 months capture you gimmick, but you get free money. It can be a 5, 10, 15-year loan, depending on what you want to choose. Those aren't available today, but we are expecting them to be available sometime in June, possibly early June. And I want to say too, I mean, that is not a reason to wait. If you are interested in, even think you might be interested in these systems, you should enroll today, ask one or more installers to come and give you an assessment, make a recommendation for what fits your house the best. And when you get that information, these are major decisions. Most of us are not familiar. We haven't had heat pumps before, perhaps. And it can take a while. It can take a few weeks for somebody to go through that process of having an assessment done, getting a proposal back, thinking about it, talking to their friends. It usually takes 3 or 4 weeks. So if you started today, by the time you were ready to do something, these 0% loans will be available. And there's a limited amount of money, so it's first come, first serve, and you're doing yourself a favor if you're interested in that to jump on the preparation side of things right now. NYSEG, the utility, has taken over rebates that formerly came through NYSERDA. They're calculated in a different way, which we don't need to worry about. They're roughly similar to what we would have gotten from NYSERDA. Because they're calculated a different way, for some kinds of systems, they go up a little, for others, they go down a little, but they're designed to be essentially equivalent. That was their intent. And so for whole home systems, you get $1,000 rebate per 10,000 BTU hours, BTU that the system puts out. And a typical home needs 25,000 to 60,000, and that depends on the size of the home and how well insulated it is. But the incentives then run from anywhere from 2,500 to 6,000. So that's a very large incentive relative to the cost of an air source heat pump system. And then if you are making less, if your household makes less than 80% of the median income for Tompkins County, there are some other programs that can help you. NYSERDA has an assisted home performance program, which is a 50% matching grant, and you can get up to $4,000 from them in that program. And then Solar Tompkins and Sustainable Tompkins has gotten a grant, and we are offering $2,000 awards towards an air source heat pump heating system. So things have not, if you add all these up, you can really get a system for very little. So I would encourage you to enroll. Enrolling has no downsides. It doesn't cost anything. The assessments are free. Even if you ask for multiple assessments, they are all free. And you are not obligated to buy anything at all. It's up to the installers to evaluate your needs and give you an offer that is convincing to you. So there's no downside there. And you would do it online. This is what the home page of our website looks like. And you would just find this enrollment icon down there in the bottom right and click on it, and it would take you to the enrollment form. It takes about 2 minutes to fill it out. So we are still, the installers, this is actually big news, and you probably have already seen this if you got our newsletter this week, but the installers are now working in homes. They are included in this phase of lifting the pause. And so they can do assessments and they can do work at your home. But for the time being, HeatSmart educational events will still be online. We don't see a big advantage to creating any risk whatsoever when these online webinars seem to be working quite well. So we've only got one webinar currently scheduled, but there will very soon be a bunch more added. We're just finishing a whole cycle where HeatSmart, Lisa and I have gone through the different kinds of heat pumps, and all the installers have given lunchtime talks on case studies, and we'll probably do all of that again. So I want to thank everybody who makes HeatSmart possible. It's mostly volunteers. We've got an all-volunteer board, a lot of very engaged volunteers outside the board. For staff, it's fairly limited. There's Lisa and I are the co-directors. We do get some compensation. Kitty Gifford is our communications consultant. And we have a couple of interns this summer. Dana Grover is on the call, on the webinar tonight. And so you may have seen her picture. And so I want to thank you for listening. And it's now time for our Q&A. The installers are ready, so I hope you've come with really difficult questions because you won't be able to stump them. Okay, so these are our 4 installers: NP Environmental, Daily Geothermal, Halco, and Snug Planet. All 4 of these companies do air source heat pump installations, so you can choose any of them or any set of them. And with that, Lisa, I'm going to stop sharing and go to the Q&A.